ain't a thing.
Hello all. So today going to look at a different type of scam that we haven't covered so far. So this is episode 4 of my series of scams, how to avoid them, things to look out for, and how to keep yourself and others safe. Now, this episode is going to be about phone call scams. So these are scams that take place over the phone. Now you might think that this is an easier form of scam to avoid, but people do still fall for it, as often hearing a voice makes them feel more reassured that something is legitimate. Now, one of the first things to keep in mind about phone call scams is when you receive the call, when the call comes through, one of the first things to check is, do you recognise the number, or does it show who is calling? With a lot of scams, it won't show you a company name. It might show you a number that does not seem familiar, or potentially not even from your country. That is quite common, as often scam phone calls are either based outside of the UK or Europe, quite often towards Asia, and often they will also, as mentioned, not display the caller name or company name, as the companies are not registered. Sometimes if a company phones you, depending on your platform and the software you have on your phone, it might show you a company name as it is a registered telephone number. So that's one of the first things to look out for. When you answer the phone, you then get a few more indicators, as it were. Now, these indicators may come in the form of a brief period of silence before you hear anything on the other end. This will be due to the fact that your phone number would have likely been dialed by a machine. As soon as you answer, their systems, scammer systems, then connect your call to an operator. Now, this isn't to say that all phone calls people get that are unsolicited, as it were, are scams, but some are. The main ones that you may come across are insurance company claims. So very much along the lines of, we've heard that you've had an accident, such as road traffic, accident in the workplace, things such as that, and we'd like to discuss your payment or your claim. Now, most people, if they do have an accident, whether it be via car, in the workplace, things such as that, if they do seek to claim anything under an insurance claim, they will do so themselves and actively seek that out. That information will not be given out, as workplace privacy laws, although they may have to state there has been an accident, they may not have to state the nature of it. But if you do wish to seek such a claim, quite often you will do so yourself, as opposed to waiting for a phone call from a company. So that's one of the main ones. I get those quite a lot. Now, just to kind of skip a little bit, when you do receive a scam phone call, what you do is completely up to you. As the call was incoming, it will likely not charge you. It shouldn't charge you at all. So you can go down a few avenues. You can choose to simply hang up the call. You can choose to have a bit of fun with the person on the phone. You could kind of look at speaking to them, seeing as to what the weather's about, striking up a conversation. You could go down a whole multitude of courses. The route I generally go down is that I request to speak to a manager. That either gets them to hang up the phone, or they do put me through to somebody else, at which point I request that my data is removed from their systems under GDPR. Now, whether that is actioned, I couldn't say. This quite often, as soon as I mention that, they'll go okay and hang up. So that's what I do. What you do is completely your choice. As I said, you can just hang up, save yourself a bit of time, or if you're feeling a bit bored, have a bit of fun with it. Completely your choice. So, as mentioned, that's one of the main ones that you may receive. But a couple of other examples. One is that you may receive a phone call saying that your computer has been infected with a virus. Now, once again, this is actually quite a common phone scam. People do still fall for it. So this one, somebody phones you up, says that your computer's been infected with a virus and they have the software that can resolve the issue. Now, if your computer has been infected with a virus, it's not going to let anyone know except the person that is responsible for the virus in the first place. So odds are, if you get a phone call, the phone call itself is likely either off the back of the person whose virus is installed on your machine, if you do have one that is, or they are just shooting blind and hoping that you are willing to go along with the things that they have suggested, or they will suggest. Quite often, these suggestions are remotely accessing your PC through forms of software and stealing the documents and information on your system, and potentially then even installing some form of virus that will then mean you can't access your data unless you pay money. Now, even if you were to pay money, there is no guarantee that they will actually release your files to you, which is why in regards to any sort of data, you should always have a backup. Look into the 3-2-1 rule for data backups. In general, it's a good rule to follow to make sure that you have access to your data in the event that something catastrophic happens, such as a house fire, or just for example, a lightning storm can short out a lot of home electrics, which can cause data loss on computers. So, a bit of advice to look into that. But going back, so the PC phone call scam generally ends up with the person that's received the call in a much worse situation. Now, as with any PC related stuff, if you're not sure, ask somebody else or don't click on it. If you receive a phone call along the lines of your computer's been infected with a virus, once again, you can have some fun if you know what you're doing. I wouldn't advise to do this unless you are actually aware of how to have a bit of fun with the scams, as it were. If you're not too tech savvy, we're just advised to hang up the phone and call it a day and block the number. Now, on the back of that, a quite serious one that has been circulating over the last few months. It's playing upon a very genuine fear that people have, is COVID-19 phone calls. Now, we are all aware of the fact that the world is in the grips of a worldwide pandemic, and people are taking advantage of that and the fear because of it. People are phoning up unsuspecting people and claiming that they have or have been in contact with somebody who's been confirmed to have COVID-19 and that they themselves need to be tested. They are then offering this test, saying we can do it, we can get the results back to yourself very quickly. Person says, okay, that would be fantastic. Of course, I would like to be tested to make sure that I am healthy, I'm safe. And then the caveat comes in. We can do this, but it's going to cost you some money. Now, the amount that I've kind of heard does vary, but normally it's around £50 for a test. That is to make sure that any admin fees and equipment and such is covered. Now, that's a problem, especially in the UK. In the UK, where we have the NHS, COVID tests will be free, as it is covered by the NHS. We should not have to be paying for any essential healthcare treatment such as COVID tests. If you were known to not have it and you're still insisting upon having tests, they could potentially look to request some form of payment from you, just due to the fact that it would then be classed as an inessential treatment and something that is not required. Now, something such as this scam is one of the worst scams that can come around, as it is playing upon very real fears that people have due to the current situation. They don't want to risk their health, the health of others. They don't want to be buying a coffin for themselves, and they most certainly don't want to be buying a coffin for their loved ones. So it does play upon very real fears of people. But if you do receive a call such as this, one of the first things I would advise to do is to hang up and to contact the NHS directly. Now, do not phone 999, as that is their emergency number. Would advise to make use of 111, that's their non-emergency line. The operators on there can guide you through things that you may want to do. They can make a note of the fact that you have received a phone call. They may also look to take a record of the number that you received it from. So, as mentioned, it's one of the worst kinds of scams that you can get over the phone. So they're kind of the main phone scams that I've come across. No doubt there are more. In fact, I know there are more. But it is one of those things. Once again, you do need to make sure that if you do receive any sort of phone call that is stating to be from somebody, requesting money, things such as that, once again, as mentioned previously, take your time, think about the situation, think about what's happened, ask them questions. If nothing or if anything seems less than legit, don't proceed. Don't give them any card details, any card information. Keep your personal details to an absolute minimum. First name, surname. If they've contacted you, they will already have this information, yes. But if you don't want to confirm it with them, you don't have to. That data is yours and yours alone, and you can tell them how to process it in your wishes. If they say we need to know your address, say, well, you must already have my address there. I don't trust you. I don't trust this phone call. I'm going to hang up now. And if you do wish to either have me confirm it or have somebody confirm it to me, that is absolutely fine, but I will not be confirming on this phone call. As mentioned, with some lines of work, people are very cautious in regards to confirming details over the phone. That is perfectly understandable. So if you're not sure, contact the people that they are saying they are from. So if they're saying we're from Microsoft, for example, which is quite a common one for the your PC has a virus, is to hang up and contact Microsoft. Say, do you have any record of me, my system, my details? If so, okay, fine. Can I confirm them with you? But once again, make sure the number you're calling is a legitimate number as well, to make sure you're not buying in to, once again, scam numbers. So, as previously mentioned, they're the kind of basics of keeping yourself safe. So if you do get a phone call, check the number, see if it says who it is from. If you don't recognise the number or the area code, or it doesn't say who the caller is, it could potentially be a scam. I'm not saying it is, but it could be, so be cautious. That's your first point, to be cautious. Once you answer the phone to them, if you do answer it, that is, see who they're saying they are calling from. If the company that they say they're calling from you've never heard of, or doesn't sound legitimate, then once again, that is another warning flag to yourself, and at that point you can look to hang up or probe further for more information. See what the topic of the phone call is about. Is it about something along the lines of a claim, whether it be insurance, money, lottery, things like that? Do you remember or recall any information that may link to some such scenario? If not, once again, that is another red flag, and you can then look to hang up or probe further for more information. But if at any point they start asking you to confirm your private details or card details, I would always advise to politely decline and hang up. So that's all for this week. As mentioned, this is episode 4 in my short series of scams, how to notice them and spot them, how to keep yourself safe, and would hope that you can share this to help others and protect others as well. Sharing is caring when it comes to personal information and scams. It is always best that we try to look out for each other and protect each other. So thank you ever so much for listening today. Do hope you enjoy the rest of it and you all keep safe. Bye. Thank you ever so much for listening today. If you do want to listen to or view this on a different platform, please keep in mind it is on Anchor and on YouTube. On Anchor, it is I Made a Thing, same as on YouTube, also I Made a Thing, and you can also find me on Facebook as well, also under I Made a Thing. So thank you again for listening. Please do like, share, subscribe, and all of that lovely stuff.